Good evening. I call this October 12, 2021 virtual administrative meeting of the Bernalillo County Commissioners to order. We will have a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Natalia Sanchez Downey.
And now the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Natalia. And now, Madam County Manager, are there any changes or additions to the agenda?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, I have one change, and that's item 4E. So the acknowledgement of Dr. Joe Vias to be deferred to the November 9th meeting, and a vote will need to be taken for the change.
Okay, and I have a question on my sheet. It says that there's also a technical services item to be deferred. Julianne?
Madam Chair, we will defer to Commissioner Benson. I believe he has some statements regarding that.
Okay, so should I wait or will we do that now?
We can do that when we get to consent if you like.
Okay, thank you. So deferring 4E, that requires a vote. So I'll move to approve that. And who would like to second, please?
Aye.
I know someone would love to second it. Thank you, Commissioner Benson. And all in favor of deferring 4E? Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa,
Aye.
Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley.
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada. Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye. Thank you. That passes unanimously. And now I would just like to make a quick change in order and have the New Mexico Steam Locomotive and Railroad Historical Society go first, because they have a pretty complicated operation here.
Is that what we're doing now, Madam Chair?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So, it's my honor to present this proclamation this evening. This is to the New Mexico Steam Locomotive and Railroad Historical Society. Ruth Corey is here with other members, board members. I know that they were on the screen for a while there, but I know it's very windy. So I'll just go ahead and read the proclamation, and then they are going to do a little short presentation. New Mexico Steam Locomotive is the New Mexico Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners, and is sponsored by all the commissioners. Whereas the Santa Fe 2926 is a former Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad steam locomotive built in 1944 by the Baldwin Locomotive Works of Eddystone, Pennsylvania, for the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railway, and beginning in 1944, the Santa Fe 2026 logged more than 1 million miles, many on New Mexico and Bernalillo County rails. And whereas the Santa Fe 2926 pulled trains consisting of passenger cars, freight cars, and military troop and supply cars. In 1956, the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad donated a Santa Fe 2926 to the city of Albuquerque in recognition of the city's 250th anniversary. And Santa Fe 2926 was displayed in Colorado Park starting in 1956. And whereas the New Mexico Steam Locomotive and Railroad Historical Society purchased the 2926 from the city in 1999 and moved it to its current location at the intersection of 8th and Haines Street in Albuquerque in May 2002. And whereas the 2926 was placed on the National Register of Historic Places in 2007 and has been undergoing restoration to full operational capacity, and on July 24, 2021, the 2926 ran on its own power for the first time in 66 years. And whereas the New Mexico Steam Locomotive and Railroad Historical Society has invested almost $4 million, which include almost 215,000 volunteer hours in this restoration project. And once operational arrangements have been completed, the 2926 will be fully operational with a capability to pull tourist excursion trains on mainline tracks and will be even more of a tourist attraction and destination in Bernalillo County. Now, therefore, be resolved, Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners recognizes members of the New Mexico Steam Locomotive and Railroad Historical Society for their steadfast dedication to this project that will undoubtedly cultivate economic, cultural growth in Bernalillo and the state of New Mexico. Given this day, October 12th, Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners. So I hopefully Ruth can say a few words, but I can hear the wind in the background.
I don't know if you can hear me, Madam Chair. We were trying to make a wonderful shot for you of the crew in their dress overall standing in front of the face of this mighty engine. But I'm sorry to say the wind defeated us today.
I think there is a shot though that could we display that shot of everyone? I think it was there. It's sort of like a still. There you go. That would be great. I know, Ruth, did you want to say a few words? I know that there were other photographs. I was reading the proclamation. Were the photographs being shown?
Yeah, I don't know if you were able to see the photographs, but we have quite a collection from the time of the engine's working days right on through till we got her running under steam again once she was fully restored. And the photographs that you have show that entire history. And I hope that can be appreciated. We are, needless to say, very, very proud of this effort. And we're extraordinarily delighted that Commissioner O'Malley and the full commission could recognize the amount of work and effort that's gone into bringing this piece of history back to life. A piece of history that's so important and runs so deep in the roots of New Mexico, Albuquerque, and lots of New Mexicans. So thank you very much. We are very honored that you've made this recognition.
Well, thank you, Ruth. And this has been quite a endeavor. And clearly it's something that there's so many who are passionate about getting this, well, passionate about trains, I guess I should say. This particular locomotive actually was not very far from my house. My parents had moved us from the Sawmill Old Town area to not very far from that area where
Really?
the train was placed, Coronado, right? And I remember going there with my brothers, and we would get into the train until they basically fenced it off and wouldn't allow anybody on the train anymore. And I think what was going on, to be honest with you, I think people were taking pieces of the train, and maybe that wasn't good. But I remember that when you purchased it and you contacted me those many years ago. So it's really been a labor of love, and I sure hope that we can see it running again on a train track. I know that's basically your goal. But again, right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioners.
And Ruth, stay on the line. Commissioner Barboa has a question for you.
Certainly.
Well, I just more like a comment. Thanks for bringing this. Great to see the work happening, Ruth, and all your team over there. My grandpa, Alfred Barboa, was actually one of the people that moved it to Coronado Park. I think because he was in the YC in the Conservation Corps at that time or something, but he was part of, and so as a kid growing up, we went there a lot, and every time we'd pass it on the freeway or anything, we'd hear the story about how my grandpa helped get it there at that park. So yay, it's all of our history, and I'm glad y'all are working on it. Thank you.
Well, and that's why I say that the roots of the railroad, and in particular this engine, run deep in lots of New Mexico families and Albuquerque families. So that's pretty exciting that you have a direct connection to us. And Commissioner Piscotti, that that you played on the train is a common experience for Albuquerqueans. And we have people here all the time who tell us how they played on the train as children. And stole a lot of the parts, all of which had to be remade or refurbished. And there are lots of people who come to us, actually from all over the country, who let us know about their direct connections to the railroad here and also to this engine. And of course, the engine's original home was in the rail yards downtown. So it's very, very familiar to everybody in the area. And we really appreciate all of you honoring our effort to bring her back to life.
Thank you. And Ruth, how can the general public come and see the train and maybe talk to somebody there about the history?
Well, all these guys you see here in their dress bib overalls are ready to tour any member of the public, absolutely everyone, every Wednesday and Saturday from 9 in the morning on Wednesdays until 2 in the afternoon, and on Saturdays from 9 to 5. And we are ready to tour you around and get you up in the cab and let you see the whole thing.
That's
That's
awesome.
right.
Thank you so much.
You may have
Doesn't
heard
love
our
us
resident historian, John Taylor, has published a book that gives the entire history of the restoration.
That's awesome. I have a feeling you're going to have a lot of people showing up to see the train and buy the book. So thanks so much.
Well, thank you again, commissioners. We really appreciate your effort. I'm sorry that the wind made it difficult today.
Okay, well, the next time you come on, make sure to blow the horn for us.
Oh, we'll do that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that was a very nice presentation. I hope that at some point we can all get out there and see the train in person. I'm sorry the video wasn't cooperating today. So now, Commissioner O'Malley, you and I are just going to be proclaiming back and forth all night tonight.
Chair?
So it is National Cyber. Commissioner Barbeau, did you have a comment?
Sorry, thank you, Chair. I wanted to actually ask for, I think, some stuff to get pulled off the consent agenda.
Okay.
I just want to make sure I didn't miss my.
Yeah, we'll
okay.
get to it right before, when we get to that section.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. So National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And so I was asked to sponsor this because I love catching those phishing scams and all that stuff. And I'm always sending them over to IT security. And so they asked me to sponsor this. The Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners, sponsored by all the commissioners. Whereas the line between our online and offline lives is indistinguishable. In these tech-fueled times, our homes, societal well-being, economic prosperity, and nation security are impacted by the internet. And whereas ransomware costs businesses more than $75 billion a year, and over 18 million websites are infected with malware at any given time each week. And whereas the average cost of a data breach is $4.24 million, and 95% of cybersecurity breaches are due to human error. And whereas Bernalillo County employees identify and report phishing attempts intended to defraud taxpayer dollars on a daily basis. And whereas Bernalillo County vigilantly protects information systems and networks on a daily basis, blocking malicious email, network traffic, and websites containing exploits and informing users of risks. And whereas the US President, the US Department of Homeland Security at dhs.gov/cyber, the Multi-State Information Sharing and Analysis Center, the National Cybersecurity Alliance have declared October as National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And whereas all Bernalillo County residents are encouraged to do your part, be cyber smart. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim October 2021 as National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, done this 12th day of October 2021 in Bernalillo County, state of New Mexico, and signed by all the commissioners. And we have with us Eli Bourgeois to say a little bit about this. And I know that there were some websites that people can go to. Maybe you could just talk a little bit about what those are and what we're doing here at Bernalillo County to prevent cyber breaches.
Sure. Madam Chair and Commissioners, thank you for this proclamation. Although I'm not gonna talk about the slide about the URLs, we'll send you those later, but just let me introduce myself. I think you did a great job trying to go for my name. My name is Eli Bourgeois. I am the Deputy CIO for the county. It's all right. I'm speaking on behalf of our CIO, Robert Benavides. I'd like to thank the commissioners, County Manager Julie Morges-Baca, Deputy County Manager Shirley Reagan, and all the other Deputy County Managers for their continued support and leadership, especially when it comes to the cybersecurity. It's only because of this leadership and ongoing support that Bernalillo County can stay one step ahead of cyber criminals, protecting the county and protecting our taxpayers' money. Over the last 3 years, the Bernalillo County has made major progress increasing our people and system defenses from cyber criminals. I would like to thank you, Madam Chair, for reporting those, and our county employees for reporting phishing emails to us, saving the county from being defrauded. In closing, I would like to encourage all Bernalillo County employees and residents to remain vigilant against cyber criminals. Never release personal information to unsolicited phone calls, emails, and text messages. If you are in doubt, please ask someone you trust. Thank you again and have a good evening.
Thank you so much. Any other questions, comments about that? Okay, I know we all appreciate IT security. And I think that your team really just gets on that stuff right away and destroys it. And I think that we have probably, I'll just say, one of the best network systems in the world. So thank you.
Thank you for your confidence in us.
Absolutely. Thank you for your work. And now it's back to Commissioner O'Malley, New Mexico Coalition Against Domestic Violence.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With us today is Pam Wiseman and Terry Garcia with the New Mexico Coalition Against Domestic Violence. I was asked by Ms. Garcia to bring forward this proclamation, and this is, they provided the proclamation, which is very nice. Before I forget, though, I do want to thank Tia Bland. I don't put out a lot of proclamations, but when I do, she's the one who works with me to write them up. This is the, I'll begin with the Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners, and that's all of us. Whereas anyone can be a victim of domestic violence, regardless of age, sex, ability, ethnicity, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, or religion. And whereas children who grow up in violent homes are believed to be abused and neglected at a higher rate than the national average, and that these children, their development and ability to function well in school can be negatively impacted for a lifetime. And whereas Domestic Violence Awareness Month provides an excellent opportunity at both state and national level for citizens to learn more about preventing domestic violence and to show support for the numerous organizations that provide critical advocacy and services to victims and survivors of domestic violence. And whereas Domestic Violence Awareness Month provides another opportunity to reach victims and provide crucial information on how they can seek help and support. Now therefore it be resolved that the Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners hereby recognizes October 2021 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, done this day, October 12, 2021, Bernalillo County, State of New Mexico, signed by all commissioners. And I think, let's see, is it, I did talk a little bit with Terry Garcia and then Pam Wiseman, whoever wanted to speak first. You're both on
Sorry,
mute
we're
at
both
this point.
muted. Terry, do you want to say something quickly?
I just wanted to say thank you so much, Commissioner O'Malley and Madam Chair. I really appreciate this proclamation for our programs and advocates and survivors across Albuquerque. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, Commissioner O'Malley. I am Pam Weisman. I'm the director of the New Mexico Coalition Against Domestic Violence, and we are a group of 30 plus programs, service providers from around the state, and we have many more stakeholders and supporters. And on behalf of the 3 programs in Bernalillo County, Enlace Comunitario, Domestic Violence Resource Center, and Safe House, I want to thank you for this proclamation. I also would like to add that in communities that are able to create widespread awareness of domestic violence, in those communities, they have less violence. We know that to be true. And so this proclamation is really just one more step, and it's an important one. And I hope inspiring the residents of Bernalillo County to learn more about domestic violence, what causes it, and what is being done to prevent it, and what they can do also to help prevent it. So we appreciate you all very much for this effort, and thank you again.
Thank you both.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this important work. We
Sure.
appreciate you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so now it's back to me. And I am sponsoring an acknowledgement of search and rescue dogs. Acknowledgement by the Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners does hereby acknowledge search and rescue dog organizations, acknowledging that search and rescue dogs are special dogs trained to use their diverse natural abilities to rescue people in crisis, including people lost in the wilderness, in urban environments, and those caught by natural disasters, and acknowledging that local volunteer groups such as Sandia Search Dogs provide training and deployment for search dogs for human search and rescue services in the mountains of Bernalillo County, supporting the New Mexico State Police and other agencies, and acknowledging that training for canine search and rescue requires considerable work and investment, up to 2 years of regular training to become certified, and volunteers are expected to fund their own gear, serving at risk of injury to themselves and their dogs, and acknowledging that search and rescue dog organizations provide a critical service to the community, finding children, elders, and outdoors people who may be lost, injured, or deceased, performing up to half a dozen missions per month. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners honors the search and rescue dog organizations who maintain a high standard of excellence to be effective search and rescue resources and preserve human life. Done this 12th day of October, 2021 in Bernalillo County, state of New Mexico, and signed by all the commissioners. And we have with us Mary Berry. I saw you here on my screen a second ago. And I just want to say how we met. I was actually in one of our beautiful Bernalillo County open spaces in the East Mountains. I was with my dogs, who are companion pets. They do not have jobs, though they probably should. And I saw you and your group training your dogs, and we started talking, and I was just fascinated by the training that goes into this, and also, the service that you provide to our community. So, Mary, can you talk a little bit about your organization, Sandia Rescue Dogs, and what you do?
Sure. Well, thank you so much, Commissioner Biscotti, and everyone. I can't tell you how surprised and delighted I was that this happened. I mean, it's such a happenstance thing, just like you said, with us bumping into each other, almost literally, at an open space. But Yes, so our team, Sandia Search Dogs, has been in existence for over 20 years. And we are primarily based in the Albuquerque area, and we do search and rescue activities for state police, the county, and the city. And we are deployed within the Albuquerque area, but also around the entire state. So we are sometimes requested by other law enforcement agencies elsewhere down near Carlsbad or up north, basically just pretty much everywhere around the state. And we have all types of search dogs, and we've been involved in disaster search as well as wilderness. And we are involved in some criminal cases, but primarily what we're called out for is when a hunter or hiker, a child on a picnic or something like that becomes separated from the group. And so then we're called out to participate in the general search and rescue effort, which I have to say, of course, search and rescue is not just about one entity. It's not just about dogs or just about ground searchers or helicopters. It's everybody working together to affect the search and make it have a positive outcome. So typically when I am speaking to groups, people oftentimes have a lot of questions, and I'd like to entertain a couple if somebody has some questions, because it's a big topic and there's a lot of curiosity about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know, and we're so limited by time here. And so is there a way to connect with your group through your website? And we also have Under Sheriff Larry Corr in here, so to talk a little bit about Bernalillo County's efforts. But Mary, is there a website or a way to contact you?
Yes, if you went to sandiasearchdogs.org, that's our website. And also we're on Facebook. So that's Sandia Search Dogs, just on the Facebook page. You can learn a lot about us that way, and you can contact us, of course, either way on either one of those methods.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you so much. And now I want to go over to Under Sheriff Corr, because one of the things that that stood out to me a month ago when I was looking at some of the news footage from 9/11 was that the search and rescue dogs really played a huge role with our first responders. So Under Sheriff Corr, do you want to talk a little bit about Bernalillo County's efforts, either working with organizations or with our own dog?
Well, Chair, thank you for recognizing the volunteers, all the commissioners for recognizing the volunteers in the community. In particular, since we're on the search and rescue, organizations like Mary Berry and her organization, it really does help out quite a bit our first responders when it comes to search and rescue. I can tell you, without fail, most of the search and rescues that we end up going on in Bernalillo County end up having some kind of compilation of volunteers and paid personnel from firefighters or police officers. So it really does help out to have these volunteers working, not only just working with us out on the scene, but also training with us on occasion as well. And I know our deputy Littlefield, who handles one of our dogs that's trained in tracking humans and tracking human remains, has worked actually with I believe Mary. I met Mary a couple times. She may not remember me, but I out at some PR events and things like that. And oftentimes I'm up in the air watching these dogs at work, and I appreciate it. So thank you again, Madam Chair, and commissioners for recognizing this organization. I know that the dogs are very important. I know for our deputies, for Deputy Littlefield, he's had a dog for several years, about 11 years. He's just getting ready to retire, and so they really become connected. They invest a lot in these dogs, a lot of training, and they're part of their families. And he's going to be adopting that dog, or actually he already has, and he's working on training. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So Mary and Larry, be sure to give all the dogs lots of treats and belly rubs from me.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Mhm. Thanks. Okay, so moving on to boards and committee appointments, code of conduct appointment. Motion to approve the appointment of Martha Brown to the Code of Conduct Board representing Commission District 3. Do you want to say something about your person now, Commissioner Barboa?
Yeah, thank you, Martha, for committing your continued service. She has been serving as the alternate. And so I'm glad to see her continue to serve in this role, an important role for the county that isn't always the most glamorous, but really glad that she's willing and able to do it. Thank you, Martha.
Would you like to move to approve that appointment?
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you for, I'd like to move that we appoint Martha Brown to continue her service on this commission, on this board.
Okay, great. I will second that. And all in favor? And Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa,
Aye.
Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada,
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye.
Thank you.
So that passes unanimously. Thank you so much, Martha Brown. And so next up, we have public comment and communications. And before we hear public comment, we will proceed with our communications item. And this is regarding the 2020 census data, Bernalillo County redistricting, the continued journey. So Ken Martinez, would you like to introduce Brittany Pass, please? Please unmute yourself so we can hear your words of wisdom.
Good. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the commission. We're really fortunate to have Brittany with us. We're so happy that Research and Polling has assigned her directly to work with the county commission. She's just doing an excellent job. This is a process that takes place every 10 years. After the census data is available, then we will go through a process of making each commission district basically equal in size, and Brittany's been helping us with that. We're at really the first point of, after posting the current maps, looking at some potential maps that would deal with the population shifts and how we get to those. And with that, I'm happy to turn it over to Brittany.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Mr. Martinez. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. The map making process turns out is very visual, so I will show you what we've done in terms of drawing some map concepts to hopefully spark some conversation and start thinking about the best way to equalize this population for the decade going forward. So what I've put up on the screen right now is the current boundaries. And I showed this to you last time I came. And I just wanted to sort of refresh all of our memories what the current commission districts look like. So you'll see the district number, and then the number underneath that is the percent deviation from the ideal population of each district. And if you'll recall, the ideal population of each district is 135,289. And our challenge really is in District 4, which has experienced the most growth over the last decade and needs to get a little smaller, and the other districts need to get a little bigger. And so, Madam Chair, before I go on, how would you like me to structure this? I can go through all of the map concepts all at once, or I can go through one and stop and get a reaction. What works best for you?
Yeah, I think go through all of them. And then we'll see if there's any comments or questions.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I am going to pull up what we're calling Concept A. And this is a status quo plan. It's a least change plan. And the goal here is really just to equalize the population across districts with the smallest changes to existing districts as possible. So you can sort of see here, just to start, most of the districts look exactly the same as in the previous map. So just for ease of our discussion, I'm going to turn on the old district boundaries. So the old boundaries are in blue. The new proposed boundaries under Concept A are in yellow here. So I'll just really quickly go through and highlight where the changes are. So first of all, we were able to, because of the precinct splits that you all passed at your last meeting, we were able to hold the line between District 1 and District 4 along Paseo del Norte, rather than coming down and doing a sort of zigzag through the North Valley. We've done this in all of the plans, just because it's nice to have straight lines and to have district lines along a thoroughfare. We did the same thing here. This precinct was split and this precinct was split, which allowed us to be able to hold the line along I-25 here between districts 1 and 3. So in general, those are the only changes to District 1. District 2, we straightened this line out right here along I-25 between District 2 and District 3. Only these two precincts were affected there in Concept A. The big sort of change, and again, remember, we had to take some population out of District 4. And the way we did that under Concept A was we took this neighborhood, and this is just south of Tanawon. So this is the Tanawon precincts here. This is Eubank, Academy, and Tramway. And so we just bumped District 5 out into District 4 just a little bit. The other thing that Concept A does is the boundary between District 3 and District 5, which really just sort of straightens out the line here. And I'm going to move this so you can see the bottom. So rather than sort of zigzagging all around, we took it straight. This is Osuna, down Pennsylvania to Indian School, and then straight down Eubank to the existing boundary here on the south side of District 5. So that is Concept A, again, a least change plan. This retains both of the current Hispanic voting age population majority districts in District 1 and District 2, and all of the districts are within the ±5 population deviation. So that's Concept A. I'll pull up Concept B, which is another least change plan. It's just a little bit different. So I'm again, the new boundaries, the proposed boundaries under Concept B are the yellow. I'll turn on the blue. So again, we straightened out this line along Paseo, along I-25. We again took that little slice of population just south of Tanawon between Eubank and Tramway into District 5 from District 4. The difference in this concept is the boundaries between District 3 and District 5. And what we did here is we just straightened out this line by continuing down Louisiana, going down Indian School, and then to Eubank. And the rest of the boundaries are all the same. And again, we've got really small population deviations. We're retaining those majority Hispanic districts over here on the west side. And that's Concept B. And then the final concept I'll show this evening is Concept C. And this one is a little bit different. The goal of Concept C was to create, was to pull the South Broadway neighborhood into District 3. And then the secondary objective of this plan was to, again, not change the boundaries of existing districts as much as possible. So again, these are the new boundaries under Concept C. I'll turn on the old boundaries so you can see the differences. So here's the South Broadway neighborhood. And so to pull that into District 3, we essentially brought all of the precincts from this is Central Avenue to Rio Bravo from District 2 into District 3. And then to account for that population loss in District 2 picks up Tahajali out here, picks up Kirtland Air Force Base, and picks up just a handful of precincts here between I-40 and Central, and this is west of Unser. So takes that from District 1. So then District 1 has lost a little population, and where we took that was just a few precincts. We just sort of pushed this boundary that was originally along I-25. We pushed that east to Louisiana between Osuna and Montgomery. District 4 then picks up a couple additional precincts between Louisiana and Pennsylvania, south of Osuna. And this is the Arroyo del Oso golf course, just to sort of orient you to where we are. And the only other changes are, between District 3 and District 5. This boundary is the same as the proposed boundary from Concept A, just straightening out that line along Pennsylvania and Eubank. So, Madam Chair, those are the concepts that we have prepared for you for this evening. And I'm happy to stand for questions or feedback.
Okay, thank you. Good. Thanks. Now I can see everybody. Are there any, actually before we go to any questions or comments, I just want to be clear about this because I've had people emailing me. So we are not voting on anything tonight. And this process, it feels like it's just at the beginning of looking at different maps. And I think we're sort of in the middle of every commissioner meeting individually with you, Brittany, and also Brian Sanderoff and Research and Polling, looking at those maps, moving things around. So we're still, fairly at the beginning of this. So people have a lot of, the general public, our constituents have a great opportunity to send in public comments over our website. We have a dedicated page on the county manager's webpage called Redistricting, where people can type in their comments or call in their comments, and they will be transcribed verbatim. And so we will not be actually voting on this until December to actually adopt a new map. So I just wanted to put that out there so that people won't be, on the edge of their seat to see which one we're going to pick tonight. We're not going to pick one tonight. So,
and Madam Chair, thank you. I'd also like to mention that we're happy to make revisions to any of these plans as we go. These are not the three choices that you have also. So these are just sort of to get the conversation rolling, and it may end up very different by the end or exactly the same. So we'll see.
Thank you so much for clarifying that. Commissioner Benson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Brittany Post, for this information and for all your help with this. And I just want to recognize I've had several constituents reach out to me, recognizing that my district has to shrink now because it did grow so much. And they've reached out saying they don't want to leave this district. So I just want to recognize that and let them know that we're trying to do this as fairly and straightforward as we can, and that and that we're all trying to keep our communities intact. At least the commissioners I've spoken with and Research and Polling is really helping with that. So appreciate everybody reaching out. Continue to do so. I'd love to hear any input you have on ideas for these changes. And then in the meantime, I just know that we're putting a lot of good effort towards the process.
Thanks. Commissioner Casada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to also make a quick statement that, I'm also going to be meeting with all the elected officials that are in my district, senators, representatives, to listen to their input and listen to, what their thoughts are as we move forward. We're doing this early so we can, make those meetings, organize those, although it doesn't really affect them, it does affect them because, this is Bernalillo County and this is where within they represent. So I just, I'm just, letting everybody know, and the elected officials who may be watching this meeting, that I am we're gonna, once we get what maps we're actually going to be really looking at, then I'll sit down with them, and also not only our constituents' feedback, but also our other elected officials' feedback. So, we're going to do our due process the best we possibly can to make sure we're making the right decisions as we move forward, because this is a 10-year decision. We won't be able to change this again for another 10 years. After the next census. So, we want to make sure that, we have all the stakeholders' ideas and opinions and input. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions or comments? Commissioner O'Malley.
Thank you. And it was very helpful to meet with a consultant. I really appreciate that. There, obviously, it's for, and I think probably, I don't know, but most of us feel this way, but I think so. It's just kind of like trying to keep as much as possible the status quo, because we don't have to really, it doesn't have to be altered that much to achieve those particular percentages, which I think is good. And I'll just say this, I think it's very important for me anyway, for my district, that we do keep that Hispanic majority in District 1. Thank you.
Thanks. Commissioner Barboa.
Yes, I too want to just thank Brittany Pass for meeting with me, helping me understand this a little better. And I too, I like my district, and we talked a little bit on just in all transparency, I do. And I also talked to Commissioner Quesada about, just wanting, I feel my district, the southeast part of Albuquerque, really also represents some of that sort of all the way down Gibson area, the Kirtland addition, which is the traditional African-American neighborhoods, and then, sort of South Broadway there, where a lot of also immigrant, South Broadway, Gibson area, our old San Jose neighborhoods. And so I'm excited to think about that, just because of the way my district has the international district and what that means for our communities. But just thanks, Brittany, for entertaining all my thoughts and ideas, and I look forward to building this. And thanks for your time.
Thanks. So Brittany, I assume that we at the county will get copies of the maps to put on our webpage so that the public can look at those and comment and send in their questions or what they'd like to see.
Yes, absolutely. I'll work with your staff to get that done as soon as we can. Yeah.
Great. I know it's a lot to take in when you show the different alternatives, and it's good to go back and be like, oh, wait, okay, I see what's included and what's excluded. So thank you so much. We really appreciate all of your work on this and the entire team. Ken Martinez has been through redistricting a few times, maybe more than a few times. And so he's been a great guide to us on just how this process goes. And I really appreciate that. Ken, did you want to say anything?
No, thank you very much. I think the commission's done just an excellent job with our contractor. We're really lucky to have Brittany, and of course, everybody knows Brian Sanderoff is the guru, and they're busy, so busy. And you guys were great in making the time to visit, because we have to work around the fact that the legislature is redistricting right now, everything, House, Senate, Congress. So it's a busy time. I think Bernalillo County is in a good situation because we have a very great board. The changes are fairly easy to make, and my advice usually is just to make as small changes as possible. That's the most defendable if we would end up going to court on it. I don't think we'll end up going to court. I think it's a very collegial atmosphere, but there's certain key points that you worry about. And Brittany gave us that outline when we started, right? And so we kind of know what we're looking at, and I think it's a good process. And we do, Madam Chair, I think you set up a very good plan for how the community can become engaged and look at the maps and take a look at them and make comments on. Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, I know I love my district. I know all of us, all the commissioners, we love our districts, and so we're gonna do the best we can with our constituents' input. So thanks. I guess that's it.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
And we will see you, Brittany, again next month, won't we?
That's right.
You'll
Yes.
be presenting to us again.
That's right.
Okay, perfect. Thanks a
Thanks
lot.
very much.
See ya. Okay, so now we get to move on to public comment. Julianne, how many people are signed up for public comment, please?
Madam Chair, we have 3 signed up.
Okay, so I will read the instructions. You will have 90 seconds to share your comments. You will then be notified when your time is up. You will then be muted and moved to the waiting room. Should any of the commissioners have follow-up questions to your comments, you will have an opportunity to answer. So go ahead, Julianne, and let's hear public comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, we have Ms. Elizabeth Haley, followed by Val Vaughn, followed by Abel Cardenas.
My name is Elizabeth Haley. I am the Commission Chair of the Paradise Hills Special Zoning District. I sent out a report to the commissioners earlier today and have been speaking with the department about a proposed project in Paradise Hills. It is a sound attenuation wall running along a portion of Unser on the west side of the street. The project, when it was first begun in 2017, was looking at a project that was to be built within the right-of-way. When the commissions first saw the project last year, there was a component on the east side that has been dropped from the project. Val Vaughn, a commissioner, will be explaining that. I think he's also on the agenda, and Abel Cardenas will be explaining what we're hoping to accomplish tonight. The problem is the project has been running along a format that would be perfectly acceptable if the project was going to be constructed by Bernalillo County and maintained as part of the road right-of-way, because its purpose is as a public portion of that for sound attenuation and safety. As part of the studies, they determined that the existing rear walls of the residential properties would have to be demolished in order to have enough room for construction. At some point in the project was moved out of the right-of-way and put on private property, which starts a whole other process because all of the adjacent homeowners actually have standing and the right to address that standing within an administrative meeting. We are concerned because the documents that have been supplied to the homeowners would put what amounts to an encumbrance in perpetuity for them to make.
Okay, Ms. Haley, you'll have to start wrapping up.
I can wrap up my comments, and then the rest of the commissioners can complete them.
Okay, great.
Val Vaughn, followed by Abel Cardenas.
Val?
Madam Chair, can you see me or hear me?
We can definitely hear you.
Okay, for some reason, the camera's not working.
Okay, well, go
Sorry.
ahead. Your time is ticking. Go ahead, Val.
I've been a commissioner for a long time on the Paradise Hills Special Zoning District. And I'm also a professional engineer, PE. The commission realizes that the east wall was deleted from the project. After the commission's original comments and that the commission did not accept the application because of previously stated comments and the following. When I reviewed some of the originally issued drawings, I noticed that there was a repetitious note stating more or less that the the decision to remove one or two of some of the top courses of the existing walls would occur during implementation of new construction. I believe that should be evaluated and adequate construction decisions made prior to the start of new construction. The drawings that I looked at were very hard to read. However, it appeared to me that the attachment methods for the new courses might not be adequate considering the age of the walls and their original design. I could not determine if these walls were originally built with any stability considerations, such as dead men tiebacks or rebar. And even if they were, would the original design be suitable for the new construction? Stability of the walls should be the major factor in the redesign in view of the city's liability to the homeowners on the other side of the walls. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. We'll
Thank
go
you,
on
Madam
to
Chair.
Yes, thank you. We'll go on to the next person.
Hey,
Abel.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you. Madam Chair and Commissioners, thank you for your time. As the member of the Paradise Hills zoning district, we are requesting that this item be moved or removed from the consent agenda today and be deferred to a later meeting so that we can have more time to properly review and add our comments to what we need and feel are best in the best interest of our constituents in the Paradise Hills special zoning area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And so that concludes public comment. And we appreciate hearing from you. And so moving on then to approval of minutes. Minutes of the September 28, 2021 administrative meeting. I move to approve the September 28, 2021 administrative meeting minutes. Who would like to second?
Second.
Commissioner O'Malley, thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes, raise your hand. And Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa.
Aye.
Sorry. Commissioner Benson.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley.
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada.
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye. Thank you very much. That passes unanimously. And so now before we go on to approval of consent agenda, I know that a couple of you would like to make some changes here or changes or comments. Who would, Commissioner Benson, was that your hand?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I would. In light of the written comments and requests by the Paradise Hills Special Zoning District Commission, I'm requesting that item 8H, the Unser Sound Wall Project rebid, be deferred for 1 month to allow the county staff to meet with the Paradise Hills Zoning District Commission and allow both parties time to resolve their issues.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Barboa, did you have a change you'd like to make?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, or at least I think, I hope it, I wasn't quite understanding. I want to ask to pull items 8B and E from the consent calendar.
Okay, Madam Chair, in removing consent item 8B, that will become item 10C, since there is a resolution associated, and removing item 8E, RFP investigative services, that'll become 11B.
Okay.
Madam Chair, let me verify that. If we're going to be removing 8E and making it 11B, correct, Julie?
Removing 8B as in boy, and it will become item 10C.
I'm still confused. Okay, we've got 8. You're coming down to the county sheriff.
Yes.
Okay.
So 8B, yeah.
B, the motion 2, that's going to become 10C.
Yes.
And then the county manager stays.
Yes.
Human resources stays, and then human resources investigated services.
Yes. So that'll become 11B as in boy.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And so we don't need a vote to move the items off consent for the deferral. We can vote on that, or I can apply the change vote to that.
Oh, if we don't have to vote on it, let's not vote on it.
Okay.
And we'll just move it. And so I just want to reiterate what happened here. 8H regarding the Unser Sound Wall project is deferred until November 9th. And the other 2 items, 8B and 8E, are moved further down into the agenda so we can discuss them and vote on them individually. And so that being said, it looks like, Madam Clerk, it looks like I need resolution numbers for 8C and ordinance numbers for 8F and G.
All righty. 8C will be AR 2021-89. F will be ordinance number 2021-20. G will be ordinance number 2021-21.
Thank you very much. And so I will move to approve the consent agenda with those changes made. Do I have a second? Thank you, Commissioner Barboa. So all in favor of approving the remaining items, raise your hand. Thank you. And Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa.
Aye.
Commissioner Benson.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley.
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada.
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye. Thank you. That passes unanimously. And so now moving down to adoption of ordinance amendment to county code. It's a zoning code amendment, mobile food establishments, Lucas Tafoya or Nick Ham to present.
Madam Chair, Nick Ham will be presenting this item.
Great. Take it away, Nick.
Thank you, Mr. Tafoya. Madam Chair, members of the commission, hello again. Nicholas Ham, zoning administrator for Bernalillo County, presenting a few code amendments to you this evening. Proposed code amendments, I should say. The first one is relative to mobile food establishments, more commonly known as food trucks. Currently, the county zoning code does not have a home for these types of businesses to operate. So our intention here is to carve out a space in the zoning code to give these folks an opportunity to understand clearly where they can operate and how they can operate, provided they meet some use specific standards that we've come up with. Generally, those are aimed at protecting health, safety, and welfare, as most things in the zoning code are, but more specifically, we are aiming these folks to maintain a trash receptacle, have permission of the property owner where they operate, be on a paved surface, and not occupy areas on a property that would be reserved otherwise for ingress, egress, or parking. So we try to craft something that's straightforward, that's clear for both the regulatory folks and the users to understand. We are optimistic that this is going to improve our relationship with the food truck business owners. So as part of the outreach with many code amendments, or all of our code amendments, we send out notification to all registered neighborhood associations. We also went a step beyond and we sent out notification to folks that are involved in the restaurant industry. So Mr. Tafoya and the health protection manager, Mr. Botero, assisted me with that. And we also took this through the County Planning Commission, and we received a clean recommendation of approval to you all. So we are introducing this and we are looking forward to implement it so we can provide some clear guidance to our food truck small business owners in the county. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Okay, are there any questions?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner O'Malley, whoops, Commissioner O'Malley.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I just had a question as to, you mentioned that trucks have to be on a paved surface. What is the thinking behind that? Just want to know.
Madam Chair, Commissioner O'Malley, there's really two things we considered there. The first is the county's and the city's fugitive dust ordinance. So we don't want them to be operating on areas that were otherwise unimproved and might create fugitive dust. The second was around water protection or water table protection. So vehicles that are, other instances of vehicle parking in the county zoning code requires that they be on a paved surface or an improved surface so that if there were to be oil spill or a grease spill, that it wouldn't then infiltrate into bare ground. So just trying to prevent otherwise potential environmental hazards, if you will.
And I was just asking that because we have a lot of areas that have either crusher fine or remain permeable in parking lots and areas like that. And, because we were trying to get away in some ways from paved surfaces so that we do have permeable surfaces. So, and I'll use the example of like Los Poblanos parking lot is none of it's paved. It's all a crusher fine and it's all permeable. So that's why I'd asked that question.
Madam Chair, Commissioner O'Malley, as a suggestion to address your concern, we could modify that language to say compacted surface. That wouldn't get at the water quality issues, but it would certainly get at the question of whether or not they could operate on a crusher fine parking lot. So I obviously defer to the wisdom of the commission, and that I think would be a solution that would accommodate the fugitive dust issue while also allowing for them to operate on these more permeable surfaces that might be in a parking lot.
Okay, I think that's something worth discussing.
Okay, and I just want to remind people that we are voting on this to introduce and approve for publication. And so it won't be voted on tonight to approve it or not. And so, Nick, there's a process in place for people to make comments, and I know you said that letters were sent out to all neighborhood associations, and so there will be plenty of time for people to make suggestions and amendments to this.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, that's correct. So by voting to approve introduction this evening, I'll work with Ms. Julianne Baca to get this on the website and to incorporate or provide any comments that we might receive to the commission. And if there's discussion about things that you would like to modify, we could take cues tonight and we could incorporate those for future hearings. And we could also do the same with any public input that we might get.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Commissioner O'Malley?
No, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Casada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think if anyone knows my area up here in the Southwest Mesa, the food trucks are our restaurants. They are the ones who provide food to us when we go out to eat. We don't have many choices. So, we're probably 90% food trucks up here to go get something to eat. And look, I want to try to support, these entrepreneurs and these small business owners the best way I can. But, we do have some of these guys, they set up right on the side of the road going onto the freeway. It's the craziest thing you'd ever see. I mean, it's so dangerous. It just doesn't look like that's a good spot to be, but yet people stop, they get food. And so I agree that, we have to have some kind of regulations to make it not only healthy, but, make it safe for people who do go get food. A lot of them up here already seems to me that they're buying lots and they're paving them. And they're putting their food truck on there, and that's kind of their restaurant. That's their business model at this point in time. But I do agree that, you know, a lot of these guys don't have the money to buy that, and definitely not to, you know, asphalt or pave, you know, an area. So I do agree that we should look at alternatives to what, you know, what could be underneath them, and what allows them to, in order to operate, you know, legally within at least Bernalillo County. I don't know what the city of Albuquerque's stuff, their procedures are, but you know, there's some dangerous situations up here that I think that we're doing these food truck owners a favor by making them comply, you know, with a better way of doing business up here. So, but my one question, Lucas, is that why can't they be in a parking lot or a business parking lot if they have permission?
Chair Chavez. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, Nick, I'm sorry, it was Nick.
That's okay, no worries. Chairman Chavez, Commissioner Quesada, with this amendment, they would be able to.
Oh, okay.
Let's say you own a shopping center and it's zone C1 and you like food trucks around. You can have food trucks come to your property, provided that you give them permission and they meet those other criteria that I spoke about earlier.
Oh, okay, I misheard that then. Thank you, Nick, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Benson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Ham, and also Mr. Grotti and Mr. Tafoya for your work on this. And I really appreciate your effort to make this just a viable solution for our food truck owners and restaurant owners who are also branching out into food trucks. So you're taking a situation that was tough because you hadn't really planned for it, and you're making it easier for businesses to do business. So I really appreciate your effort on this. I like what Commissioner O'Malley had suggested with and Mr. Ham's suggestion of compacted earth. And I guess, you know, one last question I have, and I don't know, you know, I don't know about it, but we do have a lot of dirt roads here too. And I want to protect the environment, but I also know, you know, there's a lot of people, and Mr. Tafoya, you're aware of this too. We've got a lot of like illegal dumping and, you know, a lot of problems out in unpaved areas. And, you know, if somebody's trying to make our community better, like a food truck, and they're trying to employ people and feed people and, you know, eke out a living in a respectable way. I just wonder if a dirt road would be okay if it's, you know, if there's people there. Just to comment, just gonna throw that out there. Think about it, please. And if it's, you know, if it's just deemed that it's too big of an environmental threat, I understand. Either way, I'm just, you know, I really appreciate your effort on this. Really do. Thank you, guys.
Madam Chair, might I just some comments there. So Madam Chair, Commissioner Benson, thank you for the kind words. We certainly appreciate your support. With regard to the roads, I just wanted to make it clear that this is just a zoning code amendment. So it really would only apply to private parcels. I would defer to my colleagues at Public Works and the folks that are responsible for public safety with regard to the rights of way. So with this amendment, the only authority that I would have and the zoning code would have would be applicable to private property that retains a zoning designation. So I didn't want to give a false impression that this would be something that would be applicable to rights of way. That's certainly something that my other colleagues in the county would be responsible for administering.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Commissioner Barboa.
Yeah, I was just gonna back what Commissioner Benson and others have said. So I think, thanks for that clarification, Mr. Ham. And I definitely, yeah, thank you for bringing this. I think it's so important that we make it easier, right, for food trucks to do business. So thank you. And I agree with what most of the commissioners have said around maybe having some leniency on the dirt piece.
Understood. Thank you, commissioners.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Or would somebody like to make a motion? Commissioner Barboa.
Go ahead, Benson. I saw you go before me.
I'll make the motion. As long as Commissioner Barboa can second it.
A motion to introduce and approve for publication amendments to the comprehensive zoning ordinance, mobile food establishments. Thank you, Commissioner Benson, for moving, and Commissioner Barboa for seconding. All in favor of more food trucks in Bernalillo County? Raise your hand. Woohoo! Thank you. Linda Stover, esteemed county clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa,
Aye.
Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley, Vice Chair Casada,
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye. Thank you. That passes unanimously. Next up, Nick, don't go anywhere because we have zoning code amendment, craft distiller and restaurant liquor licenses. Take it away.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the commission. So in keeping with the theme tonight of economic development and helping the restaurant industry that was battered by the COVID pandemic, this is another amendment that's intended to expand opportunity for small businesses in Bernalillo County. So this is a two-part amendment. The first is that currently the county C1 zone allows for a small brewer or a wine grower without a vineyard to operate permissively with a restaurant and conditionally without. So you can set up a brewery or a winery in the C1 zone in some capacity, depending on what your business model is. What we were missing was a space for the craft distiller's license. So these are other New Mexico born products, subject to the same rules around hours of operation, numbers of drinks. So we are carving out a space for the craft distiller to be able to operate their business similarly to what a small brewer or a wine grower would be able to do. And that's to say that if I set up shop and I have a food component, I go straight to building permit. If I want to set up shop and I want to do just the alcohol component, they would just have to go through the county's conditional use process, which involves a public hearing to make sure that the particular use is contextual and appropriate to the property that it's going on. So picking up another use, following the same path for similar types of businesses. The second part of this amendment has to do with the restaurant liquor license. So the state of New Mexico legislature recently amended the Liquor Control Act. That will now allow for a holder of a restaurant liquor license to sell beer, wine, and spirits. So if you go to a Mexican restaurant, you can now get a real margarita, provided that they go through this licensure process. So again, but it's not a bar, it's a restaurant license. There are hours of operation limitations. There are revenue limits that have to be applied to both food and alcohol. And there are numbers of drink limitations that would be applicable to the base restaurant liquor license. So there are some controls that are imposed by the state. And we feel that this is an appropriate scale of use for the C1 zone and would be an opportunity for other types of businesses to be able to operate in the county C1 zone. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
And Nick, I want to ask a question that I saw in the packet, that this puts us in alignment then with the new state laws around restaurant liquor licenses, or?
Madam Chair, that's correct. So that is the amendment to the Liquor Control Act. So now the county zoning code will speak to the restaurant liquor license in its current form in state law. So this really does create some consistency with the zoning code and the state's laws around liquor consumption.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so I guess on a business side, it would, if that's a deciding factor, it could keep a business in Bernalillo County rather than going across the county line to another county that's in alignment with the state law. So, okay.
Certainly.
Are there any questions, comments about this? Commissioner Benson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, Mr. Ham, thank you so much for making it easier for our local businesses. Appreciate it. And thank you for making it easier to get a good margarita instead of a wine-based margarita. I don't know, I guess it's a good alternative, but appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Understood, and we'll continue to carry that torch.
Any other questions or comments? Would anybody like to make a motion?
I move for approval.
I bet you would. Commissioner Casado moves for approval. Who would like to second that?
No more wine
Commissioner
margaritas.
Benson? Oh, O'Malley wants to get in there too. Oh, Benson got in there first. So all in favor? And again, this is a motion to introduce and approve for publication. So this will be coming back for final approval. Okay, so Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa,
Aye.
Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada,
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye. And thank you, Nick. That passes unanimously.
Thank you, Commissioners. Appreciate your support.
Okay. So moving on, adoption of resolution. Madam Clerk, please provide a resolution numbers for 10A and B.
All righty, 10A is
Wait,
AR
and
20.
C. Did we get
and
C?
C.
We need
We will do C. AR 2021-90 is A. B is AR 2021-91. The new C is AR 2021-92.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And so first up, Bernalillo County Housing HUD Administrative Plan Revision. Betty Valdez to present.
Okay, Chair Piscotti and Commissioners. So as we're all drinking our margaritas around our taco food trucks, no, I'm kidding. That was a really hard act to follow. I had to get everybody's interest. So I'm here to ask approval for the administrative plan. I talked about the budget for the emergency vouchers that we received, housing vouchers, several commission meetings ago. So this is just a revision for our administrative plan on those vouchers. And this plan is what we've done with those vouchers, or what we're proposing to do upon your approval, is pay some deposits, utility fee or utility deposits. Some landlords are now charging our tenants or proposed tenants an insurance renter fee. We're proposing that we pay that. These are homeless individuals that cannot always afford that. So we're proposing to pay that first year premium for them. And often they leave these units in disarray. So this will help some of these landlords maybe rent up or lease these units. So it follows our Section 8 administrative plan. Those are just some of the additions that we're making to that plan. So with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Are there any questions or comments? Commissioner Barboa.
I'll be quick. Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, just I've thanked you a million times today, Betty, and I want to thank you again publicly just for, making this much needed move to increase the access to affordable housing, to housing vouchers for folks in precarious living situations. So thank you. Just want to applaud your efforts and appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else? Okay. I will move to approve Administrative Resolution AR 2021-90 for the purpose of adding the Emergency Housing Voucher Program to the Bernalillo County Housing HUD Administrative Plan. Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Barboa. All in favor? And Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa,
Aye.
Commissioner Benson, Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada,
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye. So thank you. That passes unanimously. Now moving on, Betty Valdez will present again, this time about housing fair market rent increase.
So we all are aware that the rents out there, our rental market is very competitive, and that rents are increasing by the minute almost, which has left our program participants at a disadvantage. And oftentimes they are left without a unit and are looking for the next unit. So HUD allows me to increase our rents to 110% without going to HUD for approval. I do have to notify them, and I have done so by email and by call. I've reached out to our local office, and I've also emailed Washington as per HUD regulation. So I am asking the board to approve a rental increase for our Section 8 vouchers and for all programs across the board to 110% of HUD fair market value. And to give you an idea of what that means, our HUD fair market value published rents of for one bedroom, $821. I am proposing that that same rental unit would now go for $903. So we would pay rent on that at an increase of $903. I feel that this would give our program participants a little advantage in the market and maybe be able to have a little more competitive edge out there along with the other renters that are out there looking. If the market gets in a better position and rents go down, I'll take it back down to 100% of fair market rents. But right now it's so competitive, they are unable to find units at that 100% of fair market rent. So I'm asking that the board increase our fair market rents to 110% and allow my program participants to have a more competitive edge out in the market, in the rental market. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Commissioner O'Malley.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I do support this initiative. I was wondering, Betty, if what do we have in real data? I mean, real, like, today, what is going on in the rental market? I mean, it's really something that we're talking about, a one-bedroom apartment for almost $900. That's just out of the reach of so many people. What is out there really? I mean, I know you're doing your best to help some of these folks, but are there, are we talking more like $1,200 or?
Yeah, so what's out there, Commissioner Chair and Commissioner O'Malley, is the units available, real market data. We know there's, well, it's hard data in front of me. I don't have anything right now, but there's hardly any rental units, affordable rental units available. And they're probably more than my 110% right now, but it gives them a little more competitive edge than what they had before at the $800. But HUD won't allow me to increase it any more than that without going to HUD and asking for written approval. And I could or could not get that. So we can do that. That'll take time. It has to go to Washington for approval. In the interim, we're back to the $800 fair market rent.
Question I have too, Betty, is, and I know sometimes that's true with vouchers. Well, I guess we're talking about the same kind of vouchers, that a voucher would pay a percentage of maybe a rent, and then a family would come up with the difference in the rent. Is this the same kind of deal?
It is a voucher rent that we are talking about. This is a Section 8 program, so it is 30% of their income that they pay, yes.
Okay, so they could actually end up paying more if they paid it out of pocket beyond the voucher?
No, they would pay less. I'm paying more of their rent with this. So right now, fair market rent would pay $812. I'm proposing that I would pay $100 more for them.
Okay, guess what? Okay,
I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
No,
So
I
if-
was just what,
I apologize. So
no,
if
it's
they're
okay.
$1,000, the fair market rent would pay $800. I would pay now $900 because they were having to pay more of it. It was more competitive for them. They weren't getting in units, and it was becoming too difficult for them.
Thank you, Betty.
Any other questions? Okay. Would anybody like to make a motion?
Move approval?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner O'Malley moves, because Commissioner Casada seconds, so all in favor. And Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa,
Aye.
Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada,
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye. Thank you. That passes unanimously. Thank you, Betty Valdez.
Thank you.
And now moving on to our new 10C, which was our old 8B, resolution number AR 2021-92. And so that is the COPS Hiring Program Award. And so let's see. Commissioner Barboa, I know you wanted to take this off, so why don't you go ahead and talk about this?
Yes, thank you. I wanted to mostly pull it off to just make sure I understand it. As I read that this is a grant that was received. I guess I'm also just interested in where and where it was received from. And then, yeah, it looks like, and I just also to say, well, you know, the biggest thing in our city is about crime, right? That as we take this approach to hire more officers, I just think it's good to be transparent and public in the public. So those were really my reasons. And yeah, just some clarity around the funding source and transparency around the approach to hire more officers.
I think I see Sid Covington, Under Sheriff Covington is on the meeting, as well as, oh, Under Sheriff Corn is still here. So it looks like Under Sheriff Covington, you wanted to address this?
I sure can. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so Madam Chair and Commissioners, thank you for inviting us into this meeting. We appreciate it. I think I can answer most of the questions that the Commissioner asked. The money came from the Department of Justice. It's a COPS grant. It's a grant that normally comes out annually from the federal government. And the agreement on the COPS grant is relatively simple. They pay the full salary and benefits for the number of deputies or officers that you apply for. In this case, it was 5 additional deputies. They pay their salary and benefits so that the commission and the other attendees know. We also applied for a BGA grant, which helped us buy the equipment, the vehicles, the computers, and such for these positions as well. So the county was not having to fork out the money for the additional equipment, the vehicles, and so on and so forth. The 1.5 million that covers the deputies pays their salary and benefits for 3 years.
What happens after the 3 years?
After the 3 years, the county and will either pick up the salary of those. And the way that we discussed it, when I discussed it with the county manager and Ms. Shirley Regan and a couple of the other people within the county, we would simply take the number, and I'll give you the example, okay, from where we were at prior to hiring these 5 deputies. We were at a number, and you'll have to excuse me if I'm off by a number here or there, but I think we were at 324. This took us to 329 after the 3 years, basically through attrition. And we have a 18% attrition rate at the sheriff's office each year. Through attrition, we would go back to the 324 number. But again, this is 5 extra deputies for a period of 3 years.
Okay. Commissioner, actually, Under Sheriff Corrin, did you want to add something to that?
You know, I just want to add that Under Sheriff Covington is exactly right. And, my only testimony would be that I was one of the hires of an original COPS grant program back 23 years ago, and this was when President Bill Clinton was trying to hire 100,000 officers throughout the United States, and I was a product of that. And there's some hiring requirements as far as when I got hired as a degree, you had to have a degree in order to get hired, and the program at that time was funded for 5 years. So this is just something that that's a great program. It was suspended for a little while last year, and I'm glad to see it's back up again.
Great. Commissioner Benson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Commissioner Barboa, for taking this off. You beat me to it, actually. I was going to do the same thing just to make sure we were clear on this. On the surface, I love it. The fact that we're able to increase our force by 5 more deputies sounds great, and we need it. I know talking to the deputies myself, a few of them that I've spoken to, I know burnout is, a lot of them are really burned out now. And I know our law enforcement officers, both in the county and the city, are quitting like way too much right now. So adding these numbers is great. I just wanted to verify. Now I know that to fight law or to fight crime, law enforcement, everybody does their part, and there's all folks in the back office are just as important as the folks in the front office, or I'm sorry, the folks out like on the street. But when the public sees this, that we're going to hire 5 more individuals based on this money, I think the perception is that these are going to be deputies that are going to be on patrol in the streets, enforcing the law, improving people's perception of safety, their own perception of safety. So Under Sheriff Corrin or Sheriff Covington, thank you both for being here and for addressing these questions. Can you answer that for me?
Sure, I can take that answer. You know, it's a definite need to have deputies on the street, and these positions, just because the way that it works out, these positions will be in our field services division, which is our patrol division. Now, I can't guarantee you that the positions will stay the same in field services. That is a fluctuating number based on the needs of the department. And obviously within the next year, a new sheriff will take office, and, you know, his or her desires or positions that he or she might fill, I have no control over. So I can't tell you that those positions will stay the way they are. The numbers won't change. I can tell you the plan is for these 5 positions to remain in field services at this time. And again, I don't control what happens in the future, but for the the course of the next foreseeable future, they will remain on patrol. I hope that answers your question. I'm sorry I couldn't be more exact and with that.
Thank you.
Under
Thank
Sheriff,
you.
Under Sheriff Corin, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I think I actually inadvertently did that, but I'll just dovetail to what Under Sheriff Covington was saying and add that whenever an officer is, our deputy is hired, they go through a series of training, and so I can assure you that and there's some contractual language that we have as well that they have to have a certain level of experience before they go into some specialties. So it's pretty much guaranteed that those positions that get hired are going to end up staying in that first 3 years in the field. So keep that in mind as well. But Under Sheriff Covington's correct. There may be a new sheriff that comes in that decides to change things around. But I think that's only fair to mention.
Thank you. Thank you both, undersheriffs. And just for the record, I just like to say I recognize the sheriff is the sheriff, and he's elected to fulfill that role, and I respect that position. So so given that, I understand that that he has decisions that he has to make for the department. I just want to go on record as saying that I hope that these positions stay in terms of patrol capacity, and that also, even adding these 5 positions would remove 5 other people from decreasing the patrol capacity. Now, I know you both don't have control over that. I just want to say for the record, just for my constituents and the crime that everybody here is aware of that's out there right now.
Thanks. Commissioner O'Malley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And, I think that's a good point because, we keep hearing that we're short on officers. The numbers sometimes, well, and I'll just talk about, APD in particular, because I live in the city. And of course, we're paying for both a sheriff and APD. The numbers seem to not be very, it's not always clear on who is out in the field and who is not. And it's a rare sighting anymore to see a police officer when we used to see a lot of them, to be honest. So a lot of times we're asked to fund more as legislators, on the local level. Certainly the counselors are also asked to do the same thing. And the expectation is that we're going to see some changes in the neighborhoods, that people will start to feel safer and businesses will feel like there are patrols and that sort of thing. So I think that raises an important point, that when we make those decisions to fund officers, that we do have some say, or that we can certainly say that that should be prioritized. Thank you.
Thanks. Commissioner Barboa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just a little response. Yeah, I think also just around transparency, right? While there's tension and confusion, I think the transparency around it and where we have officers is a good piece of information. I've heard you say that before, and I can say in my neighborhood I see cops probably every single day and in multiple in packs, I often call them, because they are together and talking to the homeless guy on the bus stop sometimes, right? And yeah, so I would love transparency around that as well. And thank you everyone for just bringing this forward. Thank you, Under Sheriff Covington and Under Sheriff Corin, for being present.
Madam Chair, may I add something?
Yes, please.
So I'd be glad to, send the commission over, a list of our deputies and where they're assigned. I think that might, help the commission understand kind of where our deputies are, where they're assigned, and kind of show you, that our department currently is fully staffed, which is a good thing. That's not a very common thing across the country. I think it's because we have support from the commission, from the people that we work for, from the sheriff, and for the most part, our deputies really enjoy serving the public. And so I think it's a testament to this, to the Bernalillo County, not only the sheriff's office, but also, like I said, the county manager and the commission. So I'd be glad to send over that to kind of show you where our deputies are assigned. It might help actually shed some light on some of the questions that you all might have.
Thank you so much, Under Sheriff Covington. I know my district in the East Mountains would be happy to take another deputy. I know they're stretched very thin over a lot of ground, and respond every day to accidents and incidents of every kind. So we would certainly welcome the help out in the East Mountains. If there's no other questions or comments, would anybody like to make a motion? Commissioner Benson moves to approve approve the budgeting of the grant and approve 5 full-time deputy positions to BCSO operations. Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Casada. All in favor, raise your hand. And Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa,
Aye.
Commissioner Benson, Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada,
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye.
Thank you.
That passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
And now, let's see, next up, we have approvals and, oh, okay. So the first one is the Community Workforce Agreement amendments. Ken Martinez, take it away. I know
Thank
you've
you,
done a
ma'am.
lot of work on this.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. We're happy to be joined today by William Rankin. Mr. Rankin's president. He's been waiting patiently, calling in from Denver. This is the Community Workforce Agreement passed by this body, and it's really first of its kind, something that's been a work in progress. And you'll recall that we were actually sued on it. The suit, I think, went by the way of kind of a friendly workout where it was voluntarily dismissed by the plaintiffs against us, the Associated Building Contractors, because they saw that this commission had already kind of finessed the agreement, trying to make it as absolutely as fair as possible. Mr. Rankin, Mr. Ghosh did a great job on it. We were lucky to have them out of Denver working on it. They brought national expertise to this. I asked them to do us the favor of taking another look at the Community Workforce Agreement and make any suggested changes just to keep going in the right direction. And Mr. Rankin's here with us with those suggested changes. Mr. Rankin?
Thanks, Ken. I appreciate it. Madam Chair, members of the board, thank you for having me here today. We have 2 very minor changes to propose to you. The original language of the agreement is very strong, and I think that's, as Ken said, one of the reasons why the litigation resolved so well. But just to perhaps put a little bit of a fine tune and make it even more clear that the agreement's going to be in compliance with federal labor law, there are 2 minor changes. So the first one is to section 8.1 of the CWA. And it essentially just makes it very clear that this contract is just going to be covering trade craft employees within the work performed specifically on the CWA. And then with section 8.2, there's just a proviso added to the end, just in case there is any future litigation or other challenges to the CWA, to make it crystal clear to any fact finder or judge that folks will not be required to join a union or maintain good standing, which was, I think, one of the changes that was made previous to the lawsuit. Now it's just extremely clear so that that argument can't be made in good faith against the county.
And I think that's it. It just keeps us going down the path of having a very specially crafted workforce agreement, or as they call them nationally, project labor agreements, PLAs. We're working with Elias Archuleta with a national group on how these PLAs will be rolled out. So thank you for that, Elias. And I think this language just makes it even stronger. And the commission will recall that when we drafted this, we worked with Mr. Danny Jarrett, who had actually represented the independent contractors on the PLA workout at UNM hospital, so that we were making sure we were going down the right path. But this just makes that even better. I did check with Madam Commissioner O'Malley, who is the primary movement sponsor of this, and she was fine with it. I also checked in with the trade unions who will be the signatories to this, and they're also fine with these. I'm happy to answer any questions.
And from my reading of it, the amendments, the amended version, the revised version really cleaned up some language, clarified. I remember clarified one sentence, and also the fact that people do not have to join a union to be a part of this. So those are my two big takeaways. Are there any questions, comments on this?
Can you clarify that, Madam Chair, that individuals don't have to join a union to benefit from this?
Yeah, do you have that wording, Ken? Because it was very clear. It was very emphatic in the wording.
William can do that. You guys had previously taken out a clause, I think it was 8.4, if my memory serves me correctly. But to make it even clearer, we clarified that throughout. And that just keeps us in line with federal law that says you're not required to join a union, has a condition to work on the project. This is really talking about basically the benefits being available to the people that would be working on the project. But Mr. Rankin, would you like to answer that?
Absolutely. And I also would like to apologize for not being on camera for you all. I promise you I'm wearing a suit and tie. I just didn't connect my video prior to getting on. But so the specific language is at the end of 8.2, and it states, nothing in this agreement shall be deemed to require contractors' employees to become a member of any union, nor continue in good standing with any union to maintain employment.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Okay, so, but this doesn't change the language on who the contract goes to, correct? Still has to be a contractor under a union?
That's correct, Commissioner Benson. So you don't actually technically have to be a union contractor. If you wanted to bid on a job under the CWA and you were not affiliated, you would effectively just operate under the prevailing wage or the contract for that particular trade in your industry.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Just to remind everyone, this was so important and something you all worked on so hard that you wanted to make sure that any amendments to this would be done by the commission and only by the commission. That's why we bring these amendments to you.
Commissioner O'Malley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The whole premise behind this was to make sure that folks in this industry were paid well, that had living wages, and that were provided with the necessary benefits, and including health and those kinds of things. And this is an industry that is, there's a lot of accidents. This is a tough job, construction. And that was one of the things, that was basically one of the reasons behind it. So I would like to move approval.
Okay. Commissioner Barboa?
I was just going to second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. So all in favor? And Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa,
Chair, yes.
Commissioner Benson, Commissioner O'Malley,
Yes, I mean, aye.
Vice Chair Casada,
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye. So that passes 4-1. Thank you. And now moving on to the new 11B, which is the old 8E, investigative services. And so is there somebody here to present, or whoever? I think Commissioner Barboa, you pulled this off. Would you like to say something about this? Why? What your
Yes,
question?
sorry. Thank you. I just, again, wanted just more information about, I think my biggest thought when I first saw it, I'm not sure that I'm understanding this correctly, but I know as we all passed the MDC medical contract, one of the things that stood out to me was that the previous contract had a lot of really strong, good language in it. And that the contractor that ended up departing, right, was not necessarily holding up their end. And so I had asked that time about compliance, like how do we hold these contractors to, to these contracts and to the compliance. So I'm not sure if this is what this is. And I'm asking, and that was the first thing that came to me. I'm not sure if this includes that, I guess, because it doesn't sound like this is exactly that. But I'd like for more information on what this is exactly. And
Maybe Madam County Manager could address this.
And Madam Chair, we also have Mr. Dennis Nagel on from HR prepared to
Oh,
present.
okay. Oh, perfect. Take it away, Mr. Nagel.
I can address this. So this is a motion that would authorize the county manager to award RFP 0922 MM for our investigative services for the Human Resources Department. It also would authorize the county manager to execute an agreement or agreements resulting from this RFP. And would also authorize the county manager to execute any further amendments related to the agreement or agreements. And this is a standard kind of a renewal that we do every 4 years.
if I may, Chair Piscopo. Thank you.
Sure, go
Thank you, Mr. Nagel, and thank you so much for coming to this meeting. I guess what I'm asking is, does this, and I didn't realize this was already recurring, like a renewal. What I'm asking though is what does this cover as far as investigative? I do think it's so important, and I want to applaud the idea of us having sort of external from within our own selves, some, as I read this, to be like in, follow up to make sure we're holding each other accountable.
Yes, Madam Chairman, Commissioner Barboa, we have need annually for example, in 2020, we performed 65 investigations. Already this year, we're up to 46 investigations. So these are contracts with outside investigators. And if this is just to authorize those contracts, when you get into the contracts, we have the normal language that holds the contractors, and these are folks we worked with for a number of years, accountable for what they do, how they do it, when they do it, who they report to, all those things that you would normally find in a contract.
So would some of the things they investigate be employee misconduct or sexual harassment, things like that?
Yes, Madam Chair. In particular, it's harassment, hostile work environment, sexual harassment, discrimination, and retaliation.
Thanks for that clarity.
Yeah. Yes, Madam Chair, if I may. Thank you, Mr. Nagel. And I understand that you're saying this is just the approval to move forward with that. So thank you for that clarity as well. And I still am just thankful to understand what this is. And to my second point, well, I guess a little bit in response to your point of the folks you've worked with for years, I feel like in my short time, I've received a lot of emails from staff at MDC and been on the DFMO meetings where there's been, some of the MDC staff, issue complaints into public. And I guess I want to make sure that we're supporting all our officers and MDC staff into getting a fair and unbiased hearing. So I want to believe that's what's happening, and just knowing that.
Yes, it's certainly, Madam Chair, Commissioner Barboa, it certainly does that. It's one aspect of that. But for these, 5 issues where we need deeper investigative services, that's what we get. And it really is to ensure that our employees are treated fairly and not just accused without, a thorough investigation.
Okay, thank you. And just for my last clarity, it might be County Manager's box. This has nothing to do with our contracts for our healthcare contracts or otherwise. This is staffing.
Madam Chair and Commissioner Barboa, I want to put you at ease though, because you asked a good question. This has nothing to do with it, but I'm glad you asked because we do have a contract compliance officer, and then to monitor the medical contract, but we're also wanting somebody with clinical experience. So we're also hiring a medical compliance officer. So I just want you all to feel comfortable that we are monitoring the contract. Thank you.
Thank you, County Manager, and thank you, Mr. Daigle.
Welcome.
Okay, any other questions, comments about this? I will go ahead and move to approve. Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Barboa. I see your hand. Thank you. So all in favor of approving this moving forward, raise your hand, and Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Barboa,
Aye.
Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Aye.
Vice Chair Casada,
Aye.
Madam Chair Piscotti.
Aye. That passes unanimously. Thank you. And so next up, we have a couple discussion items. Vehicle noise and speeding enforcement, Lucas Tafoya and Under Sheriff Covington to present. Commissioner O'Malley is sponsoring this. I don't know if you wanted to say a few words about it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had asked for this to be a discussion item. I have received a number of complaints, largely about noise and having to do with vehicles. I guess there's some muffler shops that I don't know. I mean, not, I don't understand cars very well, but that I don't know if they remove the mufflers or what they're doing, but it's really been very disturbing. It's disturbing the quality of life for a lot of residents throughout the city. And I've certainly heard a lot of complaints from people within my district, a lot within the city of Albuquerque too. So there was a meeting not too long ago, a neighborhood meeting where a couple of officers were present. This was brought up to them, this concern. And essentially what they said is that they had the ability, or there's a couple of things going on in the city, right? They had the ability to sort of target a certain area, put some resources in an area for a bit, and so that they could cite people who had done these modifications, because it's my understanding they're illegal, and then they would also work with the muffler shops to get them to understand that these are illegal and to not remove whatever it is they remove. It just seemed to me that they were willing to be proactive about this and that they had some strategies around that. Also, as many of us know, the City of Albuquerque the council recently passed an ordinance having to deal with speeding and let me just open that up. Sorry, just a second here. I had it open. And that was to address the issue of it's an automated speed enforcement ordinance, and to enforce it with what they call speed enforcement cameras. I think these things are mobile; they're not set. It just seems to me that we need to have some sort of strategy around this. I feel like I don't really know what to say a lot of times to people who complain about it. And I'm close to a couple of main streets, Candelaria and 4th, and they can be very loud, very noisy, and very disturbing. That's why I brought this up for discussion, and I appreciate Mr. Covington being here to talk to, and also Lucas to talk to us about it from the county perspective.
Thank you, Commissioner. I can speak to it somewhat. This is definitely an ongoing issue. I think that the commissioner is correct. This is one of the complaints that we get at a lot of the meetings that we attend, whether they're neighborhood meetings or meetings with business owners. So definitely a complaint that we try to follow up on. I'll give you an example. The 2 weekends prior to the Bloom Fiesta, we worked a TAC plan in the area of Coors and Rio Bravo, where we had complaints of these loud vehicles or possibly drag racing, things of that nature. And I think a lot of times, and I think the commissioner she's correct on this, a lot of times people think that it's drag racing when in reality it's just a modified vehicle that is very loud, and they're modifying the muffler system or removing the muffler altogether to make their vehicle louder. So we do have some ordinances and state statutes that we can enforce, and it's an ongoing issue. It's going to continue to be so. To kind of go back and tell you what we did the 2 weekends prior to Bloom Fiesta, we worked those TAC plans on both Saturday and Sunday. We tried to just put some deputies on overtime, kind of monitoring those things. We did issue, I think on one of the days we issued 31 citations, the next day 40 citations. Citations aren't always the answer. It's not always the fix. A lot of times it gives us a reason, though, to stop these drivers, gather information of where they got the modification done, and or tell them it's illegal. It also documents these vehicles if we come across them again and there's a reason that these vehicles may be impounded, then it gives us the ability to do that. So we are attacking it. I don't think there's a quick fix. Like I said, there are some state statutes for noise ordinance, drag racing, modification of vehicles that we do enforce, and we are proactively working those. We did not work any the last couple weekends during the Bloom Fiesta because Bloom Fiesta kind of consumed our manpower, but we are going to start those back up and as soon as next weekend. So,
Deputy Covington, what can people do? I mean, I know that you're able to. Let me see if I keep hearing a sort of a back thing. I know that you're able to, as you said, you have these TAC plans. So how, and you do have jurisdiction within the city as well, and you certainly can partner with the city on a TAC plan. How do we go about suggesting or requesting that that you direct, do a TAC plan for an area?
Well, I think, ma'am, especially being part of the commission, you are more than welcome to send me specifically an email of maybe the location and the hours that you have, received these complaints during these hours or during these days mostly. And we will definitely do our best to work the TAC plans in that specific area. We had a request, and I think it came from a commissioner. It was on a Sunday specifically, and they were drag racing off of Office Boulevard, which is in the city, up off Jefferson. And so we worked that for a couple of Sundays with the state police, and we did stop some drag racing, and we actually some really good contacts with some local car vendors that actually, I mean, we created a relationship with, and hopefully we'll, be able to stem some of this loud vehicle modification, because they were pretty receptive. I think they weren't trying to be malicious, but I think they definitely, we opened their eyes to some of the issues. So, but that's, and I didn't mean to get off track, but if you'll send me the information where and when, I'll do this. I'll tell you that we will put something together to work it. Don't know how much resources we could throw at it, but whatever I can do, we'll definitely put it together.
I appreciate that, because that's certainly something. I was beginning to wonder if, what kind of resources we could put towards this. What was the strategy? And I, I know that a lot of times citations, sometimes they're effective, but as you mentioned that, you identify who these, who owns the cars, and you can certainly have that communication, and hopefully that'll change some minds. And I think that the community will see that at least something is being done. So I appreciate that very much, and I will contact you. I want to thank you, Lucas, as well. I don't know if anybody else had any comments.
Lucas, is there anything in our ordinance about vehicle noise?
Madam Chair, there is. It's just a bit of a challenge because our staff doesn't really have the authority to pull anybody over. We're typically, our enforcement is dealing with a stationary source, someone with a machine or some pump or fan or something like that's going on, and we can monitor that noise, or a live entertainment or something like that. But a vehicle going by, we have no authority to pull anybody over. But we could possibly come up with some educational material around, informing the muffler shops that these modifications are not, they're legal to do that, and so we can send out some notices to these muffler shops in the unincorporated area, and just kind of let them know that that this ordinance does exist.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Commissioner Barboa.
Thank you so much. And what a great conversation where we're generating solutions. And I specifically want to ask for us to continue to generate solutions that don't always just add to criminalizing. We know that likely this is criminalizing, right? Young people of color, mostly people in low-income communities or households. And so that's what I'm always will bring the awareness around, right? Like if we're issuing citations that then can lead to arrest warrants or whatever. But I love the solutions that we're talking about. And I think the danger to it all is also that oftentimes this is about like a culture of speeding. And we've seen a number of deaths already happen this year from speeding. And so I think it is important to address, but love the alternative solutions. When I was, when Commissioner Colley was still, he pulled me in to a conversation because somebody in his neighborhood had reached out to him and said the same thing. And they didn't, they had some good ideas also about emissions testing, that like if you have that, you can't get past your emissions or something. I love the idea about addressing the muffler shops countywide. I think not just in the unincorporated areas would be amazing. And yeah, I just want to bring to note, right, when we create more penalties, oftentimes those are used to just like, when the NORO's ordinance in my day was used to stop cruisers on West Central, it was young people that mostly were impacted by that, and young communities of color.
Thanks. Okay, anything else? Okay, thank you for the discussion. Thank you, Commissioner O'Malley, for bringing up this topic. And so we will move on to the next discussion item. Commissioner O'Malley, would you like to talk about illegal?
Sorry, this was deferred from the last meeting. And what had happened was Kelly, my assistant at the time, had said that this partnership or spokesperson from the county wanted to, address the commission to give an update on the partnership. And I know that in particular, and and I don't know if Commissioner Casada wants to speak to this. I think he was pretty involved in helping to form that partnership, I think with, in particular, City Councilor Pena. So I didn't know if you wanted to say anything about it. It just sort of ended up where I said, sure, I'll go ahead and move forward with it.
Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, this is something that me and Councilor Pena initiated right when I took office. We have a huge illegal dumping problem on the Southwest Mesa. And throughout the acequias and ditches and I know it's a citywide and a countywide problem, but we just seem to get a lot more on our side. I think people just have come accustomed to thinking that it's okay just to go up to the desert and dump their stuff. And what they don't realize that it's costing us a lot more money to do that. And so we just felt that we needed to bring all the stakeholders together. And we did. It was amazing that we've got from APD, the Sheriff's Department, MRG, CDG, and AMAFCA, and county, and the city. And I think Lucas could probably give you a whole list of everybody that we have joined this illegal dumping partnership. APS. I mean, we all are dealing with this problem, and it was something that we thought that if we put an organization together of all the stakeholders together, that maybe we can do better at not only providing information, but tackling the problem together and putting our resources together. Which has been happening. I think Lucas has done an amazing job of being the leader. We put it all together and we threw it at Lucas and said, all right, man, good luck, do a good job for us. And he has. He's done an amazing job, and he's kept the organization together. And, that's basically sort of the history of it. And so I guess for an update, I'll just turn it over to Lucas.
Yeah, Lucas, I know you're so great. You're so organized. I bet you have a presentation that will answer a lot of questions on this.
Madam Chair, I do have a presentation, and I will try and keep it as brief as possible. If you don't mind me sharing my screen. All right, that works. Okay. All right. Sorry. Okay. So the legal dumping partnership, thank you for bringing me in, Madam Chair and Commissioner O'Malley, to talk about this. This is a passion of mine because it just, I run this town. I run all over the city, and every time I see trash, if I'm not picking it up, it's still driving me crazy. So let's talk trash. Here we go. Thanks to Michelle for helping me with the data as far as everything that's in here. I'm going to go ahead and move on. Here we go. The partners, as Commissioner Casada mentioned, are all up here. City of Albuquerque, Bernalillo County Water Authority, multiple departments within the city. APS has been a great partner. The Conservancy District, State Environment Department's been really involved. The Sheriff's Department. We've had some recent additions. The CNM has joined us, and as well as Waste Management, AMAFCA, PNM. All of these folks on the screen that you see have been partners, and I'll kind of get into what we've been doing over the last year and a half. We have a mission, we have a vision. We developed that when we first started meeting, and we really just want to minimize the dumping going on and the pollution in our county and in our state. And we feel like Bernalillo County could be a leader in this region to try and affect this change and change behavior. And that's really what we're trying to do. Commissioner Barboa, you mentioned about being punitive, and we want to try and educate, talk to people about their options for and why it's wrong to do this. And I think the model that we've done in the past is probably not working, because obviously we still have a problem. So enforcement and cleaning up after them because they're dumping is just perpetuating the problem or not addressing the behavior. So that's what we want to do. And so we have we form these subcommittees, one around deterrence and the other one about education. So I'm just going to get into these real quick. One of the deterrence groups within this subgroup is the Joint Agency Operation on Tire Recycling Disposal. So State Environment Department, City of Albuquerque and Bernalillo County have gotten together and worked on plans to visit these tire shops, particularly the small tire shops, because what's happening is tires are getting dumped. And they're getting not just dumped on the mesa, but they're getting dumped on cul-de-sacs. They're getting dumped on empty lots. They're getting dumped in the city as well, and in our neighborhoods. And so we feel like let's try and address it at the source. Let's educate them about what they need, their different types of disposal methods or recycling or proper transportation of these materials. And so we've got a task force group that is visiting these tire shops, and it's been a little hindered by COVID and kind of shutting down of some of our services from our partners, but we're getting traction once again. Another deterrence group is access control. So we have, I hope my earbuds don't go out here. I'm getting that noise here. But anyway, limiting access to the ditches and open spaces and stuff by vehicles. We don't want to limit pedestrian access or people going in there with their horses or their bikes and stuff, but limiting the vehicles from getting in there and dumping trash. We also have proactive patrols occurring with the Sheriff's Department MCAT team. So here's a bunch of statistics. I'm not going to go through all of them, but really, in order to figure out what you're doing, you got to have some data. And so the City of Albuquerque has been really great about collecting data, and we're just trying to work with our partners to collect similar data so we can show as a partnership how much is actually getting done. And so you'll see that there's a lot of different cleanups daily from the City of Albuquerque. The county has our own cleanups that we do on weekends, and the amount of trash that we collect on these. And these are, the cleanups on the weekends are potential trash that could end up on, illegally dumped. And so we're trying to address it in that way. We have also the Educational Outreach Committee. The plan was to attend all these big events, which we had some trouble with that here over the pandemic, but things have loosened up. And we've been able to attend recently, like the East Mountain Celebration, the Sequia Madre event here a couple weeks ago. And so we're getting back into those types of events. We did develop with a marketing company, Lavender, ihavetrash.com or tengobasura.com. It's like a resource page. So anyone from the public can go there. How do I deal with my trash, or some recyclable materials, or what entity am I dealing with? There's a lot of, if you go to these pages, and I would love to share those with you today. I know I'm on limited time, and also with technology today, I just don't even want to try it. We also did some high-tech stuff with high-tech, but just using social media. We launched a Facebook page in 2020, and we have, that number is actually higher. It's about 575 likes or followers to our page, and we have specific posts that have had some great reaction to it. APS is a great partner. They've produced a bunch of materials for us. Carlos the Coyote and Friends is a cartoon character that we bought rights to from another IDP, Illegal Dumping Partnership in Doña Ana County. And they APS is working with that artist to develop a book here for this region here in the Middle Rio Grande area of New Mexico, and so it'll be more regional specific, and then they're going to use this as part of curriculum in the classroom to help start kids young and learn this, because this, when I was young, back in my day, they had some really impactful media campaigns. The Native American with the tear as he's looking over a dump site. That's still 40 years later is resonating. So anyway, we want to try and develop some things like that. The IDP partners have stepped up monetarily, and then also through in-kind. Like I mentioned, APS has done a lot of printing for us, and about $15,000 worth of that. Waste Management provides us the roll-offs on the weekends for these cleanups. The Conservancy District has done a lot of the installations for these gates to limit the access to vehicle traffic to the ditches and open space. The same as the Water Authority has done that as well. The Water Authority has helped us get inserts in the bills to talk about specific issue or something coming up, like recycling, yard waste and stuff like that, or Earth Day and stuff like that. So that's been really helpful. I mentioned about the MCAP doing the patrols and then the tires. Okay, Lavender was the contractor that helped us develop some videos and audio spots, and that we ran here in the summer, and we're about to run again here real soon. So there was a 30-second TV and video. Let's see, TV and radio spots, both Spanish and English. So there's 30 seconds and 15-second spots. And if you have seen them, they're great. And Larry Gallegos, one of our PIOs, was in on that as the talent. And they did provide some billboard, some stills, and you can see that on this next slide, both in Spanish and English, and where these were placed from June 21st to July 1st. And then this is just a bunch of the data on the TV stations and the radio stations that we were able to get the videos and radio spots on. And some of our higher performing posts on our Facebook page, if you can kind of see some of these, the one in the top right corner was when the Amazon employees came, and we did a cleanup in the Bosque, a couple different locations, one at Dolores Huerta and the other at Rio Bravo. We had about 100 employees from Amazon that came and helped us work for a day or a morning, and that was nice. This one on the bottom there with the sheriff's vehicle next to a big dump site, that's kind of impactful. You see how big this dump site is around this vehicle. And then the garden hose recycling, don't recycle your garden hose, that really fouls up the equipment. So we get some great response from low cost, but digital, getting people where they're at, Facebook and those types of things. We also, the Water Authority used our videos to do some Facebook boosts, and it was very cheap, $20, and they were able to get these videos on Facebook and other social media sites. Our website, ihavetrash.com, has had at least 581 visits, and our YouTube videos have gotten several, there's thousands of hits here. The English one, 7,200, the 30-second one, which is great. Spanish one, 349. So the YouTube videos, well, those media ads that we got, they were put on YouTube. I see Commissioner Benson has his hand up. I'll take that question.
Thank you, Mr. Tafoya.
Yes, sir.
This is great, and you're doing great work. I just wanted to also mention to Commissioner Quezada that I think the problem's everywhere. And you did mention that, but and I get it. And I have a small district in terms of land mass, but we have illegal dumping from the northeast to the northwest constantly. And speaking with Mr. DeFoya, he's educated me that it's not just my district, because I thought it was just my district, and it's everywhere, and they've got their hands full. So, Mr. DeFoya, I guess the question I would have for you is, what more can we do to support you in this effort? More resources. I feel like our hands are kind of tied in terms of, you know, folks are breaking the law here, but unless they're caught in the act by, you know, the deputies, then there's not a whole lot we can do. So anything more, I think probably all of our constituents would appreciate any more effort. So any ideas you have that we can provide you with?
Thank you. And that is actually a great segue for this next slide. But I think the big part of this is changing. I'm going to switch to without my earbuds. Hopefully this works.
No, we hear, yeah.
We can't hear you, Mr. DeFoya.
Lucas, we can't hear you. I could hear you putting the earpods in the box. Oh, now it's not big.
Lucas, if you want to try, we can troubleshoot this real quick. You can use the drop-down menu on your mute and see if you can switch to your laptop speakers. You might have a few options available. So right next to audio, there's a little
microphone
up arrow. Yeah.
Just when he was going to ask for money.
Yeah. And it's on Zoom. So it's your mute and unmute button, but there's a little arrow. No, there's no other options for you. Okay. Maybe your AirPods are at 5% if you want to type back on.
Is it possible for him to call in?
Yes. If you want
Also, if you go to the microphone and you could switch to phone audio, and it'll let you call in.
I'll just make a comment while we're waiting. I really enjoyed having the illegal dumping partnership at East Mountain Celebration, and they were handing out the booklets. And if you haven't seen the booklets, you need to get some. They're in English and in Spanish, and they're cute little cartoon booklets. And I think that's totally the way to go. I know Commissioner Barboa, you and I were typing some slogans. I remember the owl with what give a hoot, don't pollute. And so I think really the way to go is to reach kids early, and kids will like bug their adults, right? Like if the adult drops a candy wrapper on the ground, kids will say, don't, you have to pick that up. So it's a good way to get children to make their adults aware of not polluting our environment.
Okay, looks like he's trying to join by phone, so just bear with us a minute.
I was excited, and I'll make a comment if I may, Chair, that we are holding a few community, just small events and some free libraries that I commissioned in for parts of my neighborhoods, and we're gonna put those comic books inside the free libraries and give out at some of the events too. So
Oh, that's terrific. What a great idea. I love that.
You lose Lucas forever. Poor guy.
A submarine.
You get all the money. Just kidding.
Okay, I'm not
The other thing I'd like to see is a way for people and groups, organizations to adopt a road and keep at least a stretch, take responsibility for keeping a stretch of a road free of debris. I know I do that when I walk the dogs. I take a bag and just pick up all kinds of water bottles mostly. So I want to have a little sign that says that I adopted the road.
And Lucas, I'm not seeing you come through on by phone. Is it possible that your AirPods are now a little bit charged?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We celebrated too early.
Yeah.
We all
Sorry.
should then.
Technology.
Okay, no?
Yep, I think you lost internet now.
I can't hear me.
Frozen. Oh, there you are. Yeah, we can hear you. Okay.
Oh, you took them out?
We could hear you when you were putting them away. No, we can't hear you now, but we could hear you through your AirPods when you put them away.
Okay. Now, I think that's probably it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lucas.
Nope, can't hear you now. If you can see if you can select them on your audio options on Zoom. No.
Madam Chair, that was the last slide I think that Lucas was going to speak to, and I think it had a budget in it and maybe a request. Is that, I think he's like, I'm done. No, which I don't blame him. Can we just look at that, or maybe Enrico can?
You know, what we might want to do is just kind of do a be continued, and
okay,
we can circle back and we can, Lucas and I can work together on kind of some takeaways and some ways that the commission can assist with continuing this effort and expanding this effort and some of the practical things that are accomplished, that he's been able to accomplish with kind of I don't want to say minimal, but it hasn't been a significant amount of money, but it's been a rather large impact with the amount of resources he's had. So I think that would be a nice thing to come back, circle back around and kind of follow up with some of that and see what kind of support that we can articulate and you can assist us with.
Thank you very much, Enrico and Lucas. Thank you for that presentation. We really appreciate the effort there at the end. So thank you very much. And yeah, I think we all appreciate your work. As I think it was Commissioner Benson said, illegal dumping and trash is an issue in all of our districts. So thank you so much. And so I think on that note, if there's nothing else, I say we adjourn this meeting. Good night, everybody.
Thank you all.
Namaste.